My daughter was bright. She's intelligent. I always wanted to be someone, special in life. She'll never have a husband. And my grandbabies, I won't ever see any grandbabies. Look at my baby in a casket. I think this is going to be the hardest thing in my life that I'll ever have to do.
Diana can't imagine a world without her daughter Elizabeth Laird in it.
You've taken 27 years of joy, laughter, and happiness and ended it in a matter of minutes. This is a monster.
Take a closer look at this surveillance footage. At first, it seems like just an ordinary man on the phone waiting for the elevator. But what the footage isn't showing is the evil plan he is about to carry out. Imagine walking into an elevator, expecting a simple ride, only to find yourself in a life-threatening situation with a predator. For many, elevators are places of convenience, a quick way to get from one floor to another. But for 27-year-old Elizabeth Laird, the elevator was where her life would tragically end. The violence that unfolded in that confined space shocked not only her loved ones, but also an entire community. Elizabeth was just weeks away from finishing her studies to become a surgical technician. Her dreams of helping others were quickly shattered, not on a battlefield, but at the hands of a career criminal and registered sex offender. But how did Elizabeth find herself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and how did her tragic end unfold in such a devastating manner? Before we get to that heartbreaking elevator footage, let me take you back to how Elizabeth lived her life. 25-year-old Elizabeth Candace Nicole Laird was born on January 15, 1992 in Detroit, Michigan, to a family that loved her dearly. Elizabeth, affectionately called Candy, was the youngest of 3 children. She was a bright and energetic young woman who is known for her kind heart and vibrant personality. Her family, especially her parents, were immensely proud of her accomplishments and aspirations. Elizabeth graduated from Martin Luther King High School, where she was not only academically successful, but also deeply involved in extracurricular activities. She was a social butterfly, making friends easily and maintaining close relationships with her family. Elizabeth always had a deep sense of responsibility, even as a young woman, and loved helping others. Her desire to make a difference through healthcare. So, after high school, Elizabeth would take a path into the medical field. She began studying to become a surgical technician, a field that would allow her to assist in surgeries and play a crucial role in patients' recovery. Elizabeth's ambition to help others was evident in her dedication to her studies, and she had dreams of one day becoming a nurse. She was close to completing her surgical technician program, with only a few weeks left until she could officially graduate. Sadly, she would not live to fulfill that wish. Her family knew how much this career meant to her, and she had big plans for her future. On one of her birthdays, she had made a post on her Facebook expressing her desire to help the Children's Heart Foundation by creating a fundraiser. Elizabeth was always seeking ways to help her community, most especially children. She had even started writing a book for Black young girls to teach them things she wished she knew growing up. Elizabeth always tries to stay positive-minded. To ward away negative energy in her home and life, she would burn sage. Aside from her studies, Elizabeth was deeply connected to her family and her community. She was a loving daughter and sister, always there for her family whenever they needed her. Her family was a big part of her life, and they often shared in her celebrations. But Elizabeth also had a deep love for someone else closer to her heart. Her boyfriend Jay, whom she'd been in a relationship with for 3 years. Jay was the person Elizabeth saw herself building a life with. Through her social media, Elizabeth expressed her love for Jay and how much he meant to her. She frequently posted about their relationship, describing him as her rock and the person who helped her grow mentally and emotionally. Elizabeth often referred to Jay in her posts, expressing her gratitude and love for him. She was a proud partner, always showing her affection for him. Elizabeth was determined to succeed. She worked hard to provide for herself and her family, and her personal growth was evident to everyone who knew her. But her life would be tragically cut short before she could achieve them. On May 14, 2019, Elizabeth had visited her boyfriend Jay at his apartment in the Parkview Towers, a residential building in Detroit. They had spent some time together enjoying their relationship and planning for the future. However, things would take a devastating turn that night. After leaving the apartment briefly, Elizabeth mysteriously failed to return. Elizabeth's loved ones immediately became concerned when she didn't come back. Her belongings were still at Jay's apartment, raising suspicions that something terribly wrong had happened. The following day, Elizabeth's family filed a missing persons report, and authorities began their search for her. Meanwhile, across town, another piece of the puzzle was falling into place. The investigation quickly took a tragic turn on May 15, 2019, when police were called to the Parkview Towers after a resident noticed blood in one of the elevators. Upon searching the building, authorities made a gruesome discovery. They found Elizabeth's lifeless body in a dumpster behind the apartment building. It was a shocking and heart-wrenching moment for her family, who could hardly comprehend the tragedy that had befallen their beloved Elizabeth. The case immediately captured the attention of the Detroit Police Department. Given the brutality of the crime, investigators knew they had to move swiftly to piece together the events that led to her death. Further investigation revealed that Elizabeth was not a resident of the building, but had been visiting her boyfriend. As investigators dug into Elizabeth's life, her family confirmed that she had been at the building to visit her boyfriend. This made sense, as the last known communication with Elizabeth was with her boyfriend. He was questioned by the police, but was eventually ruled out as a suspect. His presence in the area at the time of Elizabeth's disappearance had been verified, and there was no indication of any wrongdoing on his part. However, as investigators continued their search for evidence, their attention turned toward another individual. Authorities then turned their attention to the surveillance footage from the apartment complex. That was when they would notice something chilling. A man arrives at the building in a dark-colored vehicle and enters the premises. Later, the footage showed the same man talking on the phone and interacting with Elizabeth inside the elevator. The elevator footage revealed that the man made unwanted advances towards Elizabeth. She tried to fight him off, but he became violent. He struck her, leaving traces of blood in the elevator. After the brutal assault, Elizabeth was sexually assaulted and her body was discarded down the building's trash chute, which led to the dumpster where her body was ultimately found. The suspect was identified as 50-year-old James Quill Cockerham. Once investigators had identified James as the suspect in the brutal attack on Elizabeth, the hunt was on to capture him. James was a criminal and registered sex offender. He had a long history of violent offenses, including rape, theft, and armed robbery. His criminal record was extensive, and the fact that he had been recently released from prison added a disturbing layer to this tragedy. Despite his history, he had been allowed back into society where he would eventually prey on an innocent woman.
The convicted rapist is the focus of a manhunt in Detroit tonight. This time he's wanted for the murder of a woman whose body was thrown in the trash. 7 Action News reporter Alan Campbell is live with the latest on the search and the concern about violence in the city. Alan.
Well, Dave, people living in Detroit and outside of Detroit say that these recent murders need to come to an end as police continue searching right now for 50-year-old James Quill Cockerham, a suspect in the murder of 26-year-old Elizabeth Laird.
But y'all need to be careful out here.
Detroit police continue searching for 50-year-old James Quill Cockerham, a registered sex offender and a suspect in a murder investigation of a young woman on the city's east side. On Wednesday, 26-year-old Elizabeth Laird's body was found in a dumpster at the Parkview Tower Apartments. Officers later releasing surveillance video and a picture of a vehicle they believe to be connected to the crime. Officers later identifying the person seen in the surveillance video as James Quill Cockerham. People say the killings have to stop.
Bro, let us get help. We need help. We need something done.
And if you've seen Cockerham, you're urged to call Detroit police. So remember, you can call Crime Stoppers. That number, 1-800-SPEAK-UP. And remember, you can remain anonymous.
The Detroit Police Department, in collaboration with federal and state partners, set up a coordinated effort to locate the fugitive. Despite his attempt to blend into the community, James was not as elusive as he thought. Detectives received several tips, and on the afternoon of May 18, 2019, 50-year-old James Quill Cockerham was located at a house on Stopple near Joy Road in Detroit's West Side. He was arrested without incident and transported to the Detroit Detention Center. At this point, the public had been made aware of the situation, with police releasing James' name and photo along with a request for any information that could aid in his capture. The arrest was a significant moment for Elizabeth's family and for the Detroit community, who had been devastated by her untimely and senseless death.
Cold-blooded killer off the streets tonight. Police say the man who murdered 26-year-old Elizabeth Laird now behind bars. James Quill Cockerham captured today inside a home on Stopple near Joy Road on Detroit's west side, about 12 minutes from where the victim's body was found outside an apartment building near Shane and East Lafayette. Action News reporter Jen Sean shares what police are now saying about the suspect.
Detroit Police Chief James Craig calls the suspect a career criminal. It's here investigators say he met the victim, Elizabeth Laird, then allegedly raped her and threw her body in a dumpster. 50-year-old James Quill Cockerham was arrested at a house on Stopple Saturday afternoon on the city's west side. He's the man Detroit police say raped and killed 26-year-old Elizabeth Laird. They found her body in a dumpster Wednesday at the Parkview Apartments on the city's east side.
We pray for that family, we pray for that young lady. It should have never happened. One murder like that is one too many.
Cockerham met Laird in the building's elevator, according to investigators. Chief James Craig says Detroit police worked with state and federal partners to find Cockerham, who was recently released from prison. He'd previously served time for rape.
Our investigators are relentless. They continue to work. In fact, they came in today on their off day, following tips, following leads, and that violent, predatory, cowardly suspect is now in custody, a career criminal.
Cockerham is awaiting arraignment at the Detroit Detention Center.
James was charged with multiple crimes, including first-degree murder, torture, and unlawful imprisonment. Authorities made it clear that the brutality of the crime went far beyond simple murder. This was an act of violence that involved not just the loss of Elizabeth's life, but also a horrific assault on her body and dignity. The police chief, James Craig, condemned the actions of James, calling him a violent, predatory, cowardly suspect who needed to be removed from society for good. Tragically, this wasn't the first time Elizabeth had encountered predators. On social media, she had openly expressed her struggles with unwanted attention from men. She had posted about the frustration of constantly having to fend off advances, writing that she often told men she already had a partner, only to be met with competition or persistence. Her words now read like haunting premonitions. In the following days, the investigation continued as detectives worked to build a stronger case against James. They reviewed additional evidence, including forensic analysis, witness testimony, and James's previous criminal history. His previous convictions, including sexual offenses, painted a clear picture of a man who should never have been allowed to roam free. On May 19th, James appeared in court for his arraignment. During his brief appearance, he entered a plea of not guilty to all charges, which included premeditated murder, torture, and unlawful imprisonment. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, James's defense team argued that he was not guilty. The case against him seemed solid, but the legal process was far from over. Following his appearance in court for parole violation and murder, he was held without bond at the Detroit Detention Center awaiting formal charges. As he was led away from the courtroom, James's silence spoke volumes. His long history of criminal activity had finally caught up with him, and the weight of the charges against him would eventually lead to his conviction.
Well, prosecutors say it went beyond murder. Today, James Cockerham, the man charged in the death of a woman whose remains were found in an Eastside dumpster, made his first appearance in court, and our Larry Spruill was there.
This is case number 190-57660.
This is the man police say allegedly killed 27-year-old Elizabeth Candace Nicole Laird. Her family calls her Candy. Local 4 there on scene last week when police found her body inside of a trash can at this apartment building on Robert Brady Drive. Police later released this video claiming the man in this video is allegedly James Cockerham. Saturday, he was arrested in connection of Laird's death.
But for Elizabeth's family, the journey to justice had just begun. The trial would take time, and Elizabeth's loved ones were left to cope with the brutal loss of a young woman who had so much promise and so much love to give. As the investigation into James's actions continued, it was clear that the crime was not just an isolated incident. It highlighted serious flaws in the justice system, particularly in how violent offenders were treated and released back into society only to repeat their horrific actions. While James Cockerham's arrest brought a sense of relief to Elizabeth's family, it could never bring back the young woman they had lost. The painful reality was that Elizabeth would never see her dreams fulfilled. She would never become the nurse she aspired to be, nor would she marry her boyfriend, Jay, with whom she had planned a future. But in their grief, her family found strength in the pursuit of justice and in the hope that James would face the consequences of his actions. And soon enough, he did. In February 2020, nearly 9 months after the brutal killing of 27-year-old Elizabeth Candace Nicole Laird, a Wayne County courtroom delivered its final judgment. On this day, Judge Kelly Ramsey sentenced 50-year-old James Quill Cockerham to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the crimes of first-degree murder, torture, and unlawful imprisonment. The sentencing came after a tense trial in which jurors deliberated over the harrowing evidence: blood traced through an apartment elevator, forensic links tying James to the crime, and testimony describing the discovery of Elizabeth's body in a dumpster. Prosecutors emphasized the cruelty of the attack, noting that Elizabeth was tortured before her death. During the proceeding, family members of Elizabeth filled the courtroom, many clutching photographs of the young woman who had been weeks away from graduating as a surgical technician. Her mother, Diana Cann, addressed the court, describing her daughter's dreams of saving lives and a devastation of losing her so suddenly.
Well, Brian, Elizabeth Candace Laird, or Candy to loved ones, had just turned 27. She was weeks away from a graduation. Now, this arrest does bring her family some closure. Her mother even telling me she was confident that Detroit police would find this man. However, they are devastated at the sudden loss of a young woman with so much left to accomplish.
She'll never have a husband or my grandbabies. I won't ever see any grandbabies.
Diana can't imagine a world without her daughter Elizabeth Laird in it.
My daughter was bright. She's intelligent. I always wanted to be someone, special in life.
The 27-year-old student, who went by Candy, had dreams of becoming a nurse.
She did deserve this.
It's the worst feeling I ever felt in my life. I'm broken up in a million pieces.
I think this is going to be the hardest thing in my life that I'll ever have to do.
Candy's older brother Curtis has this message for her suspected killer.
You've taken 27 years of joy, laughter, and happiness and ended it in a matter of minutes. This is a monster.
James stood silently as the sentence was read. The judge underscored the severity of the crime, stating that the brutality left no room for leniency. This court finds no justification, no mitigation, and no possibility of rehabilitation that would warrant parole, Judge Ramsey declared. The sentencing marked the end of a case that had shaken Detroit. For Elizabeth's family, it brought a measure of justice, though not closure. Elizabeth's tragic death marked the loss of someone who was on the brink of a bright future. She was dedicated to her studies, working towards a career in healthcare, and had plans to become a nurse. Elizabeth's life was filled with dreams of helping others, and she had already made a significant impact in the lives of those around her. Her family, friends, and community mourned the loss of a bright, kind, and selfless individual who should still be here, fulfilling her aspirations and making a difference in the world. A solemn vigil was held at Baltic Park in Detroit to honor the life of Elizabeth Candace Nicole Laird, the 27-year-old woman whose future was senselessly cut short. The gathering drew not only her grieving family and friends, but also city leaders, community advocates, and residents who had never met her but felt compelled to stand in solidarity. Elizabeth's death had shaken the city, and the vigil became a moment of collective mourning and reflection. Loved ones remembered her as bright, ambitious, and compassionate, an aspiring surgical technician who dreamed of saving lives. Her mother spoke of her daughter's determination and the joy she brought to those around her. Balloons, candles, and prayers filled the park as speakers emphasized the need for justice and greater protection for women in the community. This case serves as a sobering reminder of the dangers of criminals being allowed to roam free and the devastating consequences that can follow when the justice system fails to protect the most vulnerable in our society. Elizabeth's tragic death is a reminder of the dangers that exist even in seemingly ordinary places, and how the presence of a predator can turn a peaceful moment into a nightmare. If you ever find yourself in a situation where someone makes you feel uneasy, trust your instincts. When something feels off about a person or environment, listen to your gut and take precautions. Consider preparing in advance by taking self-defense classes or carrying personal safety tools such as pepper spray or a personal alarm. While these measures are not foolproof, they can provide confidence and a sense of control in dangerous situations. It is unfortunate that people must worry about their safety while simply going about their daily lives, but predators do exist. Protecting yourself means staying alert, setting boundaries, and acting decisively when something feels wrong. Above all, remember, if you feel uneasy about entering an elevator with someone who makes you uncomfortable, don't get on. My heartfelt condolences go out to the family and friends of Elizabeth during this time of unimaginable loss. May her memory be honored, her life celebrated, and her story serve as a call for greater awareness and protection so that others may be spared from such tragedy. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.